wait a minute. Okay, there you go. A little bit of it. So it is running lah.
Okay, yeah, it's back. Okay. Go through the checklist.
No, because like one of the really early episodes I did, the one I did with Rening Lau, usually I have an assistant around to sort of monitor.
Yeah.
But when you don't have anyone to monitor, if something goes wrong with the door, like it crashes or something like that, you have no idea.
Shucks.
So that happened.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's like 45 minutes of okay, good audio, and then 15 minutes of camera audio lah.
At least you have a camera audio.
Yeah, man.
Work
Yeah.
out at the very least.
All right. I'm going to keep
Man.
all of this in because, this is super casual.
Yeah,
Super,
cool.
super, go with the flow kind of a thing. I try not to script the whole thing.
Totally get it.
Yeah.
I totally get
Hey,
it.
I guess first of all, let's kick it off. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for coming here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And talking about having you here, I had no idea this was your first time. Somewhere in the back of my mind,
Yeah.
I always thought that, Ivan's been here before, or something like that. Yeah.
Now, technically, I kind of like when you talked about like the story with Nick. This was before, right? And then I think the memories kicked back, and it was like I think this was actually the place that I was in when he was recording the album back then.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the drums was like the drum room was here, and he had that whole the main space that he was recording in, and I was like, okay, yes, I think this is the place.
But that would have been 2004, 2005.
Exactly.
And that's nearly 20 years ago already.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's crazy. I mean, that was the very thing that just to go back to that time, right? It was because of that experience that opened up my awareness to like, hey, there's a career like this.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
And I like where you're going with this because this is exactly the whole story behind this podcast that I do. I talk to producers, engineers, people who are like behind the scenes who are not in the limelight because I just want to hear their stories to learn about them and hopefully you can share the stories with people who want to get into this industry. You see?
Yeah, sure.
To find out how everyone finds their way. So what project was that? Can you recap?
Yeah. That one was a church album recording. This was SIBKL's. I think it was Power. Yeah, the Power album.
Okay.
So I had like my friends back then, my roommates, my housemates were like musicians, so they were involved in the album. So then and we will have like the chance sometimes to be here when they're recording their parts on guitars and things like that. So I got to see like the process of it, and I found that was very fascinating. I mean, back then it was just like, I guess the most I would do is like, we have like crack products. This was way back, right?
This is way back.
And
Team H2.
Exactly. Yeah. And we don't.
Those who know, you know lah.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
And we don't have any of like proper mics or anything like that. So I was recording stuff like right directly onto my laptop's mic. Right, playing the guitar. That was it, right? Yeah.
That was. That's everyone gets their start to some way or another lah.
Exactly. It was like, what audio interface? What this? What that? It wasn't even there. Yeah.
Correct. And when early 2000s when everything was transitioning into digital, man. I mean, some things were affordable, but they were kind of still a little bit crappy. It was either that or it had to be a Pro Tools system, which back then would have cost like tens of thousands of ringgit. So for anyone to for young guys to try and young guys or girls to get into it, it was beyond the reach of most people, man.
Exactly.
To get into it, yeah.
And I think back then was like the barrier entry was higher than where it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
way higher. The saying that I was always told, like, it was always a privilege to be in a studio. So only a lucky few would have the ability to, or even be allowed to be in the studio in the past. You see, I mean, even if you go way back to, like, even if you go back to, let's say, 50s and 60s, they are even more strict. Engineers, like in Abbey Road, have to wear lab coats. It's
Whoa,
part
I
of
didn't know that. Yeah.
And the producers were not allowed to touch. If you read it, they're not allowed to touch mics. Only the
Right.
engineers are allowed to touch and set up the mics. They have to tell them, okay, you set it up here for this, that,
Right.
that. Yeah, because it was, again, it's weird rules lah back then lah. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is like an engineering thing, can only be done by
Engineers.
actual engineers in quotes with actual
Yeah.
qualifications. Now it's like anybody can.
Yeah, anyone can do it. But I think when I started, I was kind of like in that transition
Yeah.
period as well.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of things like when I I was working in a studio and I didn't had like you don't just go up to the computer and hit record. You're not that person, right?
Yeah.
It's always you're assisting, you're setting things up for the engineer to do things. But then I find that nowadays, like, that's not the case anymore. It's just like anyone can just rock up to that. But I felt that was a great learning process because you learn a lot of number one, what needs to be done, right, for a session to move forward, and then the technical stuff as well. But other than that, it's also, I find that there's a lot of character building. And I always say this to like a lot of people that I meet, especially the younger ones. If you get the chance to kind of like, learn from people, like be in a studio, if you're working for people, right, it's a great, especially when it's in a high stress environment, right? It's great for character building because I feel like that's one of the key things that's kind of like missing right now that I feel. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, having like a recording and music production being accessible to everybody, I think it's a great thing. It's a great thing because otherwise, people who may have that creative spark in them, they would have no way or cannot afford, because it used to be you had to be signed to a label, or you have a lot of deep pockets to fund and to book a studio. And then now, if you just have a laptop, or heck, even you just have a little mobile device, an iPad or an iPhone, you can already
that's
start
enough, right?
creating music and making music already.
I think that is great as well, because of that also we get to do a lot of, like, things has gone a lot cheaper, more accessible, and then now it's really all about how what are the stuff that you are creating. So I would say like it's more of a creator space that we're in right now.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to sound, I don't want to sound like the old boomer guys. Like, back in my days, this,
oh
that.
God, I do that.
It used to be done that way. It's like I have to catch myself from doing that all the time. Yeah. So, but I think we're in a good space. It's a great time to be a creator. As much as that, still, I think some things still don't change. You still need to have that talent there. You still need to be able to write great songs. And that hasn't changed. The songs have to be good. They still have to connect. The music still has to elicit that emotional response and to connect with people. Because otherwise, in this day of age, I mean, the stats nowadays on streaming, it's 100,000 releases now a day.
Oh, that's crazy.
So how are you going to stand out?
Exactly.
Stand out among that massive, overwhelming sea of of people all screaming for attention. So I actually feel it's actually harder and tougher now to be a creator. Even it's easier in one way, but it's harder now to stand out in the whole marketplace. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like I totally agree with that. It's gotten easier there's a lot more that's being put out because it's easier to get into it. So that's why like people are just, keep creating, but then it's either sometimes it's like whether your song is like really, really good that it catches on, or the other thing is that you are great at marketing your songs, or sometimes you're just plain lucky. All right. Like I always think it's one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a little bit of everything lah. I think you need to not the modern day the new age musician and creator nowadays has to be able to juggle all these things. They have to know, they have to be creative.
Yep.
And they also have to be technical.
Yes.
They need to have some technical savvy.
Yeah.
And they also need to be business minded, that
Totally.
means social media, marketing, networking, promotions, and all that. So I actually don't, I feel like, for newer creators nowadays, it's even more stressful. So I don't envy them. I'm fortunate enough that, when I do stuff or with my band stuff, I leave all the marketing and promotion to people.
Lucky.
So I focus on one thing, but I do work with artists. I'm sure you do as well. And, the things that they have to think about nowadays.
Yeah. There's not just one thing that you need to think about. You're literally thinking about like the whole thing, because even right now, label wants to be signed to people who have a following, right? So there's a certain amount of marketing and business sense that you need to have, even before. Yeah,
it's different already, and I mean, it's just the way it is. It's just the way the whole industry has evolved. I mean, I do feel on one side, I can be critical of that sort of thing, because it becomes a numbers game.
Yeah.
They look at numbers, they look at followers, they look at engagement, then only you
decide, right?
Yeah, there was a little bit of discussion going on Twitter just a few days ago on this exact same thing lah. And it's like, that's how it is lah. Yeah. But again, cycling back, I think you do need to have at the core of it, you still need to have that talent and good songs lah.
Yeah, definitely.
Or either that you throw, like you said earlier lah, you spend a lot of money on marketing lah.
Yeah, it could work as well. I mean,
it could work,
Yeah, things that go viral, right? Sometimes you don't even know what will go viral.
Yeah. Exactly. So let's cycle back. Everyone would definitely want to hear about. Well, at least I would. I would love to hear about how you got started. In music. You mentioned that there was the church album that you did with Nick. That was kind of what was your involvement in that project?
Oh, I wasn't involved. I was just going with like my housemates to the recording.
Okay.
And then I was just observing.
Oh yeah. And that sometimes that's all it needs. That's where
the spark, right? Yeah.
When that spark was ignited, what did you do to sort of like, hey,
Okay. So this was kind of the thing. I've always been like, back then it was like, playing guitar. I was always been into music. And then I kind of found my way into the whole, I can't remember if I was playing in a band already back then. But from that session in that recording studio, what it did for me was like created an awareness about like this kind of industry exists. Okay. But at that time, I was studying something completely different. I was studying in electronic engineering. Okay. So electronic engineering, and I hated it. Like every day was a struggle, right? And I could not finish because I think by that time I was like in my third year or something. I had like another year to try and finish up. So I didn't know what I want to do, but I knew like I was always been very interested and passionate about music back then. So, but I wasn't like a great musician to the point where I could session for people. So I was like, okay, you know what else could I do? And then I took, I like to do this nonsense thing where I went out to Genting. Like I just booked like a stay for like a night. All right. And I just like shut out everything else. And I just be in my room and kind of like, okay, let's figure life out. And I was like, okay, you know what? what can I do? Why am I interested in it? Like asking myself all these questions, and I like just write it down. I was like, hey, you know what? Since I'm not like good as a sessionist or like musician, like I've kind of like dabbled into the whole recording on my own space, like just for fun of it. And I thought, okay, I could do that, but I kind of know that if I were to go the music route, I probably, it's hard to make it a sustainable thing, right? Because it doesn't pay as well. So I was like, okay, what next? Audio post. Okay, maybe I can go to an audio post production studio, and then I kind of from there I can learn how to operate like the DAW, while at the same time I have access to all the gears. So maybe I could, on my free time, learn to record music, right? So that was my thinking. So I came back from Genting, and then because I had no experience, no knowledge whatsoever, I started calling up studios. I'll be like, hey, are you looking for interns? Well, not like that, but like in a better way. So I'll be like, yeah, but I had a few like kind of turned down. Like what I remember, one was asking me, can you read and speak Chinese? I was like, no, I can't. I'm a banana. So I didn't get it. Yeah, but until thankfully, I reached out to WASP at that time, and it took a few months of persistence and follow up before they agreed for like an interview. Right? Then during the interview, after the interview, then they kind of like, okay, come on board. And that's kind of how I got my foot in.
Nice. Yeah. Back then at WASP, who was there? Paul
Wallet.
was there.
Yeah, Paul Wallet, Sigrid, and Andrea, four of them. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. But after you finish your electrical engineering degree, but you didn't study anything with regards to audio engineering and music production, right?
No, I didn't. So, but here's the thing. I feel what helped was that whole in engineering. I find that there's a certain way that you're kind of conditioned to think, because there's a lot of troubleshooting. When things don't work, right, calculations don't work, you go back and like you troubleshoot so it's kind of like when you bring it back to audio, it's kind of like going back through that whole signal flow and things like that. Yeah, so it kind of taught you how to troubleshoot a bit.
100%. I totally agree with you. Yeah. You need, and going back to the earlier story about EMI engineers in lab coats, engineers in studios used to be the original engineers before they evolved into the term audio used to be electrical engineers.
Yes.
It used to be that first of all.
Yeah.
Because you needed to know how to solder. You needed to know how to repair and maintain the studio equipment and gear.
Yeah. I can solder.
So then, to be honest, then you're actually way more qualified.
No.
Because you actually have an electrical engineering, qualification degree, right? Yeah.
No, it's like I don't remember anything anymore.
And then in that case, in paper, you would be way more qualified than even me.
Nah. It's just...
Yeah, but nowadays, of course, it's like my soldering is like, it's like no.
Yeah,
it's like plus a lot of equipment nowadays is like sometimes not user serviceable anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to like either send it back and they replace you with a new unit or stuff like that, or it's not worth repairing.
Everything's on a chip now, right?
Yeah, everything's on the surface mounted. Yeah. Everything's mounted on the circuit board already, and it's like it's non-serviceable.
Exactly. Everything is all in that whole small size.
Yeah, things are a little bit different, lah.
Yeah.
So you how long did you spend at WASP? Did you work there?
I was there for about 3 years. Then 3 years in, about 3 years.
Right. What was your next step then, career wise?
Okay, this is another funny story.
Yeah.
Because at the end of my third year, I had no intention to kind of like stop. Basically, what happened was I was in a band, and then we were kind of like, so the year before we've kind of finished and launched an album, but then this was in 2012, and we were like, what are we going to do? It was such a waste that if we don't do anything since we just launched the album, right? So I thought like, okay, let's do an Asia tour. So I put together an Asia tour, and I didn't want to do it where we were like, one weekend we are here, the next weekend we're there. I was like, no, I just want it to be like 1 full month of us just touring all around, Asia. So we got that going, and then of course I needed to apply for leave, right? Because I was working, and in that leave I was like, I need to take a month off. And I was so adamant about it because I wasn't going to let anything. This was in my bucket list kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So do or die, like this has got to happen. So I went out to, I think it was Paul. I gave him like the my letter to apply for like a 1 month, not unpaid, by the way, unpaid leave. And I was like, and he came in. I really, really am so grateful to all of them because they were very understanding. I think this is one of the great things about having great bosses, because they understand they're in the industry. They know how it's like and things like that, and they support like your dream as well, right? So what he did was he came in and he said to me, so whether or not I say yes or no, you're still gonna go, right? I said yes. Yeah, so then he gave me the green light to take that full month off. But also at that time, I think WAS got dissolved.
That's right.
At that time, and I went with Wallet, one of the directors there, to start another studio. Yeah. So that was when I came back. I was like, you know what? Since the studio is dissolved, no one has asked me to come on board yet at that time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take a month off just to chill out and, things like that, figure things out, what's next.
Regroup, analyze.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the intention. And after that, Wallet invited me over to his new place. And then he pitched me this whole idea about like what he wanted to do and things like that. And I've been working with Wallet for like so long. And I really like the way that he's been like doing things. So I'll be like, yeah, sure. Like I'll join you. And that's kind of like my next step.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. What was the name of the
that one was called Tribe Audio. Tribe Audio.
Yes, Tribe. Yeah.
So that was less focused on like ads. It was more on long form. So we were doing a lot of animation, which I personally enjoy.
Yeah. Where was the studio?
It's in Damansara Perdana.
Okay. That was nearby only.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I know the names of the studios, but sometimes it's like, we've never actually been there because it's like, we're always stuck in our own little little caves here and there.
Yeah. And I think this is definitely one thing, right? But there's like so many other people and studios that are out there. And like I think what I've been doing recently is also like getting to know people who are in there and meeting them up, and then just, checking out the place and all these things. And I think that kind of help. You don't want to work in a silo, basically, right? It's good to be connected with people.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really beneficial to just go around and, put up, it's a cliche to say that networking is important. It really, really,
it is.
Really is.
Yeah.
At a certain point in time. And even for me, that's even a lesson that I learned, because as much as I was so much more in focusing a lot on independent music, nowadays the business have shifted. Now I'm actually the other way around. Was music first, now getting more and more into audio post actually, and then that's fun. It's exciting as well. It's a really exciting work, because there you start working with other teams.
Yeah.
Directors, animators, other creative people, writers, and all that. Script writers and all that, talents as well. Then you start having to deal with, to communicate with different people at different levels as well. And then it's very cool and exciting thing.
It's very, I find it very different from the music side. It's a lot of people skill.
Yes,
It's a lot
also.
of being in a session with people who are involved and like with clients or whoever it is.
Clients,
right?
agencies,
Yeah.
creative directors and all of
Yeah.
that. Yeah, sometimes you got to balance.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a lot of, I think I picked up a lot of, rather than technical skills, like it's expected. Like you should know your stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, while doing that and still listening to things, and you gotta be mindful of what's going on.
Soft skills lah.
Soft skills, exactly. Yeah.
Things that you can't really learn from books or reading, technical documents or any kind of syllabus. Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but do you get those awkward moments where it's just silence in the studio and you feel like
everyone goes through it. It
right?
happens,
Yeah.
Everyone ever happens, yeah. And it feels like you're walking on a tightrope.
Yeah.
It's like let's not offend these people and stuff. But then on the other hand, you got to the technical side of things like, but then if you do it, yeah.
Exactly.
So these are things that you learn. Really, you learn on the job. There's school or college, university really can't really prepare you for that. And that circles back to, your how you did, calling up to try and get internships. Yeah. And my personal experience actually, having taken on interns for a very, very long time. Some of my best ones that I've actually went on to have worked for me for some time.
Yeah.
Actually are not audio or music production background students.
Right.
Two of them that I can name, right? That I can mention that really, really stood out. One is a mechanical engineer. But they like music and like music production as a hobby lah.
Yeah.
But that's not their field of study. And another one that did really, really well as well was somewhat related lah. A film major.
Right.
Yeah, but
right.
also love music. And audio. Maybe it's the thing of like maybe they're more open to learning and picking up new things. They don't develop too many bad habits.
Yeah. I think as well, coming from that side, it's like you feel like you're at a disadvantage because like, you know what, I don't have anything. But for the rest who are, I'm not speaking for all, like not all the interns are like that, but generally I get where you're coming from. Those who have like, educational experience in the audio line, right, tend to once again, not everyone.
Yes.
Tend to take things for granted, right? And I've heard that even when I was working in WAS as well. There'll be some interns coming in, and because you don't show that initiative, like people don't give you that chance because of that. There's like, why would I give you that chance when you're not even trying to prove yourself? That kind of thing. Yeah, so they ended up like, you know what, just do whatever you want. Like we're not gonna invest our time and effort into you.
Yeah. They're just there to just meet the credit, fulfill the credit hours
Exactly.
requirement, and it's like just do the bare minimum to it just the whole internship experience is like it's just for me to. It's just a stepping stone to get to the other path, and it's a waste lah.
It's a waste,
such a waste that if you don't maximize that time, that experience,
Exactly, because it comes down to like, if that is really what you want to do, that's already a great chance for you to even have that internship at that place, right?
Yep.
Then at least you can do so much more. It's whatever you want to make out of that experience to be yours.
To tap into that, or to tap into it's a perfect resource because you are already have that foot technically. If you are interning, your foot is already in the industry.
Exactly.
What are you going to do about it?
Like, what do you want?
What do you want to do about it? It's like really a lot of it is about It's the cliche JFK, the ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, that's a terrible impression.
I think it's the wrong impression.
Yeah.
Yeah, but true, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
That's interesting, man. Yeah. So with Tribe Audio, you did a lot of more long form stuff.
Yeah.
And that leads me to something that's a lot more recent, more current, actually. Yeah. So I think a mutual friend of ours, right? You worked for a mutual friend, Jared.
Yes.
Jared Lee.
Yep.
Right, shout out to Jared,
Yeah, Jared.
Interestingly, I actually first met him when he was in his band,
Sausage. Once upon a time. Yeah.
Long name. Once upon a time, there was a sausage named Bob.
Yeah.
Shout out to that. So I met him when he was in his band, rocker band days.
I remember that band because it's like I like for me I like the band and I like the songs, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Anyway, so I digress, right? Those sidetrack,
Okay.
Yeah. But again, we're just reminiscing about all the stuff. So his project, right? The short film which was titled Horologist.
Yes.
All right. Nothing to do with horror, but I had to research. Oh, horologist means like
a clock
watch.
Yeah.
Someone who watchmaker, right? Or clockmaker, right?
Yeah.
So that's the actual proper name for
proper
it.
term for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that won the award at the recent Comic Con.
Yes.
Yeah, at the San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, it was over the news. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And of course, the thing is that in all the press articles, you are standing right next to Jared.
Okay.
But the news article never mentions who you are. It's like they always talks about Jared, but then you are right next to him. So clearly it's you. Oh. So what was your involvement in that project? And maybe we can talk about how was the Comic Con experience as well.
Sure.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, I just decided to be more mysterious. That's why you don't see my name anywhere. No.
Okay. Everyone will know.
Yeah. I mean, how that got involved was because, like Jared mentioned about this story as well. This was for him a COVID baby. Well, he called it a COVID baby, right? During the pandemic, this whole idea because he couldn't shoot and all these things. So what could you do? It's like then he went back. I was like, you know what? Maybe you could try out like animation. So that's kind of like where he took it. And with the help of like that time MDEC was giving out grants, and that helped massively to be able to kickstart this whole project as well. And so during this time with the lockdown and stuff, I think they kind of already started on the whole production as well. So when I was brought in, I think they were kind of like halfway or something during that time. So my involvement was really more on the I was in charge of the music as well as the recording for the talents, the voice talents, right? So I remember during lockdown, so no one could go out and do anything. Like I remember there was this thing as well where you couldn't even shoot like, I can't remember, was it at home or something like, or in their own studio where it was like even though it's their own space or something like that. I remember.
Correct. There were one or two cases that were like they got raided.
Yeah, exactly.
They were like shooting in their own. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So which was, I mean, that was ridiculous. But at that time, so because of that whole thing, right, we had to be careful as well. So thankfully, his office back then was pretty near where we were staying, and so we just kind of like we could actually walk there, right? And then we got the talents. Thankfully, they were also kind of nearby. And then we kind of recorded things there with like just a Zoom and less than ideal place.
Big guerrilla.
Yeah, exactly that. And also there was, I think we recorded like 2 person, which was Gabriel and Suling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Suling was part of it.
Right,
Shout out to Suling.
Shout out to Suling, yeah.
Suling was remote, so she had her own setup, so that was a lot easier. But with Gabriel, like he came in and then we had to that's where we had to do it.
I talked about it earlier before this, but who else were involved in sound audio things, There's of course the sound design,
Yeah.
right, and Foley stuff. That was done by.
Yeah, so that one was done, I think, apparently by Technica Post. Don't I don't personally know them,
Right.
but I just saw that that's where they're from.
Yep.
Yeah, like great stuff as well. I kind of heard that like the Foley and stuff sounded really, really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the mix was done there as well.
Oh, okay. Right. So most of the audio post, like the final re-recording,
Yeah.
dubbing mix was done there.
Yeah.
All right. Super, super cool.
Yeah.
So you had to provide them obviously with the music, right?
Yep.
So you composed, you wrote all the music.
No, so this one was like I was just in charge of the music, so I kind of got that brief, and I was working with well now, it's Michelle, who was the composer for Horologist. So she did a great job with the brief and all these things, because I remember at that time Jared wanted something more like what is that show? Black Mirror. Right, so a bit it's dark and things like that, you know. But when we were looking at animation, it didn't feel dark. It was like because I think that time it wasn't like complete yet, right? So everything was kind of bright, and so it felt like it doesn't, you know, until we saw like the final. And I was like, okay, now it makes sense.
Michelle Lee.
Michelle Lee, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
right. Oh,
yeah.
okay, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So she did a great job on that one. Yeah.
Awesome, you know. Yeah. For the voice recordings, you know, I mean, we will segue into like the technical and
sure.
gear stuff lah. Yeah, in the end, so you just need to provide them. Did you premix all the dialogue and all that?
No, because at that time, the edit was still changing, so we couldn't. There's no way we couldn't do it. So I provided. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to commit.
It's tough.
You might as well just
Yeah, so I'll just send like the whole thing, and then they kind of like chop it out, and you just put it, you know, where it made sense. And because I think they still had to animate like maybe the mouth or something just to sync it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, congratulations, man. I mean, that was a great achievement and a good thing, and hopefully, you know, hopefully good things would and greater things would come out of that lah.
Thanks. We're kind of like really hoping to, because I think one of the things that we got from our recent trip, right, was how big the world is.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so much. I still think there's a lot of opportunities, but it's also for us to kind of like to level up. Right. There's a lot of leveling up that I feel like, you know, we need to. So we kind of had a taste of that, I think, being exposed. Like it was my first time in the States. So, and just to see how hungry everyone was as well, that was, yeah. So you come back, you're like, okay, you know, let's not take things for granted.
Yeah. How was your experience over there? You like spent a couple of days?
Oh, it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks, right? Oh, that's more than a couple of days. You guys really have a long time.
Yeah, it was, well, every day was tiring, but it was great. We were meeting up a lot of people as well. It was a couple of days in LA, and then we went to San Diego for Comic Con for I think about four days ish.
Right. Yeah.
And then we went back to LA. But Comic Con is huge.
It is, yeah. Over there.
Yeah, it's like
a big thing.
Yeah, it's like they were blocked off like certain roads nearby, and it's like they would have things going on from one end of, you know, it's not just the convention center or exhibition hall. There was stuff happening in the hotels nearby.
Yeah.
So if you imagine, like, there was some panels, right? There was like a 15 minutes walk. So by the time you're there, there's like maybe half the session gone. Yeah. It was big.
Yeah.
It was big.
That was fun. I mean, that must have been an awesome experience lah. Yeah, Comic Con is the mecca when it comes to, you know, anything to do with, you know, with that style and that genre. See?
Yeah, and I remember as well, like for Jared, it's something that we've always like dreamed of as well, because we always hear about it and things like that. And then when he actually got the invite, and I was like, I think he mentioned this as well. He thought it was a scam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, it's real. It's real.
It's the actual thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important, yeah, you know, because with US, you got your visa lah and all that and all that things that you have to sort out. Yeah.
I was so worried about my visa because I was like, am I going to get it? Am I going to get it?
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
because
Yeah.
I've never been, right? So I had to apply for a visa 1st, and I was like, oh god, I was freaking out over that. But thankfully, it went smooth. Got it, and yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, I'm really, really proud of you and Jared and the whole team and what they've achieved, like accomplished. Like now, hopefully, more people will know who's that.
Like, who's this
the-
guy standing next?
next to Jared, because you were in all the articles. The photo was you and Jared, but it's like there's this man of mystery.
Yeah. I guess I was really. I think in a lot of things that I do, right? Like I feel I'm in a very fortunate place as well. Like I mean, I didn't expect them to be using that photo anyway, right? And it was just, yeah, I don't know. Like all these things are, it's not within my control. But when it happens, like I'm totally grateful for things like that.
No, absolutely deserve. It's all well deserved, man. And I think it's like that's my whole idea. I want to shine a spotlight on all the people, the technical and the creative people who are behind the scenes. That's the whole idea of this, of why I do this podcast anyway.
Right.
I'm not too interested to talk to the stars and everything and all that, or celebrities. I want to talk to the people that are behind the scenes lah. Yeah. Well, let's dive into some maybe the technical stuff. So
Sure.
You mentioned you used some Zoom recorders.
It was.
you use?
Oh god, I can't remember. It was their Zoom. I think it was
It's one of those the handy recorders.
Yeah, the handy recorders. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you all didn't even like get a mic set up
No.
and everything and all that. It's
Okay,
just that, right?
mic setup, we kind of did it as light as we could. I don't even remember what. Oh no, I think we were just using the direct, like the mic itself, and then after that, I had to like split the files.
Yeah.
Yeah, left
because
and right.
it's like an XY
Correct.
thing, right?
Yeah. So we did that. It's just whatever I could do to just get the thing as fast as possible and then get out. Like
Yeah. Because again lah, it was during that, during that time.
that time.
It's okay. Now Malaysia Madani. So now okay. Okay, cut it down if you want.
Yeah, all good.
I'm keeping all of this in, man. Yeah. So tech wise, let's talk about what was the setup that you use. What DAW are you on?
Okay.
What do you run?
I run on Pro Tools.
Right.
Pro Tools has always been my main one, just because that is what I got used to using, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's no best DAW.
Yeah.
It's like, it's what you're most comfortable using, what you're fastest using and understanding it. So to me, it's always been Pro Tools. It's a lot easier for me to edit and faster for me to do that. Yeah.
In terms of your own gear at home, what sort of things, what audio interfaces, any?
Yeah, audio interface is the ID. I think it was for
The Audient ID
for
44?
40. I think it was 44. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The good thing about post is that because everything needs to be very uncolored, right? So everything just has to be like transparent.
Yep.
So that's just kind of how I keep things.
Yeah, and the ID44s, the pre's are really, they're great pre's, very, very clean.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the mic that I have right now is a Rode NT1A. It's like a studio.
It's like a workhorse.
Staple. It's a workhorse, yeah.
So, well, I think a lot of you rely a lot on things which are proven.
Correct.
And, proven, workhorses in the industry.
Yeah, even because even since Wasp, we were already using that. And then Tribe as well was using that. And I tend to go with something more like, one thing I learned from an experience I had in Tribe back then was like, because we worked on a ADR, and this was ADR for, I'm not sure if you know the TV series called The Good Wife. So it's apparently it's a Emmy award winning show from the States, right?
Yeah.
So apparently when the actress was here, so they kind of like got Tribe to like do the ADR for that one. So that was kind of like my introduction to Hollywood, working kind of like with the people in Hollywood. So working with the producers and things like that. And that's where I kind of realized that they have spec sheets that you kind of need to, requirements that they need for certain studios, right? Okay, what transparent pre's, mics like U87, and like regular studio, like almost every studio I have them kind of thing. So I knew from that point on that you kind of, if you want to do those kind of work, you need to kind of work in that requirements.
Yep.
Yeah. So they were very stringent. Even so, before they even picked the studio, you had to do like tests for like the room. They'll do make you do like recordings like of claps and things like that, and then they'll go back with calculations, and then they'll come back to you with like a graph. Like I was like, oh, I haven't seen a graph for a long time now.
Frequency response.
Right?
Right,
Yeah.
right,
And then I was
right,
like, okay, you have like some issues at this frequency here. You need to things like that. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, I think Disney also has got very very stringent rules. I think when it comes to mic selection, it's got to be a U87.
Yes,
Yeah, when it
correct.
comes to Disney stuff, it's a U87, nothing
Yeah.
else, you know? Yeah. So again, it makes sense lah, because then it will be generally everything that they get back, it's all
Correct.
going to be uniform.
Yes.
It's all going to be sort of standardized to it, you see.
Yeah.
So I see exactly where that is. Yeah. But again, that's the point of having standards and specifications lah.
Yes.
You know, and again, if you want to achieve what international quality is, you need to have at least some kind of a benchmark.
Yes.
You know, a baseline to aim for and to start with, lah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about monitoring wise? Or what do you use for monitoring?
Okay. Currently, like when I do a lot of stuff now, like at home, right? Like I do most of my work at home. This is like I'm just using like headphones, HD 280.
Sennheiser HDs,
Sennheiser,
right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But if I'm on like speakers, my go-to has always been the Yamaha MSP5s. I love those. I love
Right,
those.
Okay, yeah.
They translate a lot better on like for TV stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
So I really like that.
Yeah, the MSPs are a little bit, kind of under the radar. Obviously, the HSs, in terms of the way that they market it as well.
Right.
HSs are much more popular. But even back then, I think when you had the bigger ones, just the MSP5, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So even that was like closer to a more accurate studio monitor
Exactly.
thing, you see. But then again, sometimes maybe for the more prosumer market, it might prefer something a little bit more flattering, which is like the HS.
Yeah, because
not to say the HS is bad, it's just that it's for different.
But you're right. I think
Sounds different.
it's also in the way they market it, right? So it's like similar to the NS10s, right? Things the look and all that. So because in Tribe we had the HS as well. So and then the other one was the MSP5s. So I got to compare both.
Right.
And I didn't like the HS just because I felt it was a little bit too bright as well, and it made my ear a lot like fatigued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit on the flattering side.
Yeah. That's why I like MSPs, like nice. I kind of know my way around the MSPs, but I don't know why they discontinued. It's such a shame.
Yeah, that's not that's not a very common name that I hear. No?
Right?
Actually,
Yeah.
Someone will mention the Yamaha and the MSPs. Yeah. On your headphones, do you use any sort of the room correction and modeling
Yes.
software?
So I used to have the sound Sonarworks.
Sonarworks.
Yeah, the reference thing. And then I kind of used it for a while. And after that, I kind of like, you know what? I think I'm more used to like without it because I know the sound already. I'm too familiar with that. So because of that, then I kind of like stopped using.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's closed back as well. So I'm like, okay, it's like wouldn't be as, if it's open back, maybe it's a different story.
Okay, yeah. Again, it's some people, and I've spoken to a few people as well. They also had a similar thing where, like, I guess it works for some people, and for some people it just doesn't work at all somehow. Yeah.
It's like I prefer with the coloration. Like I shouldn't say coloration, but the frequency
of
yeah
the
of the
headphones itself. Really,
yeah.
lah.
But I think with anything, right, all those things are just tools. Once you understand the tools and how it translates, as long as you know that, you
Yep.
can kind of like do things as well.
Oh, but I mean, the headphone thing is that I've tried it once in a while, but again, I'm no position qualified because I don't spend enough time working on headphones. Again, lah, I'm so used to it, but maybe lah something to explore lah. You know, because I'm hearing really. You know, again, it could be all marketing speak lah.
It's
You
all
know,
about- yeah.
because Slate has their VSX.
Yes.
You know, and Waves also has their own headphone technologies behind
I
it
have
as well.
that.
Mhm.
I have that. I have
Waves NX, is it?
Yeah, NX, and the other one is the I had the Ocean Way.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
tried.
Have you had a use for that? Have you tried it? Like,
I find it really hard to use that on post.
mm,
It's just it's too like too much of the room. Like even when I turn it down, like I think it's just a matter that I need to get more used to the sound. But I don't have the time.
yeah. And when I get what you mean, when you are constantly working on stuff, you know, you're like, you don't have
Yeah.
time to totally shift and mess up your workflow.
Exactly.
Just to experiment and try something
Yeah,
new.
I mean, I would love to, but it's just that like getting used to sound. You know how it is. It's like watching everything through that whole channel, or
that whole lens or that whole
yeah. So that takes time. So like I did get like a DT Bay Dynamics DT. I think it's 770. Put it on. I try and mix it on. First time I thought like, okay, you know what? I'll probably get used to this. Then I like listen to a few stuff and like, okay, I'm ready. I mixed it out and sent it off and like, the mix sounds completely off. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, like,
did it come out like too dull? Not enough.
no, it was just bad.
flows? It was just
It was just
It
bad.
didn't translate like.
Yeah, and I was like, when I checked it with the Sennheiser, I was like, oh my god, what am I doing?
Yeah, just totally different. Right?
Totally different. Yeah.
Different sounding headphones. Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of really need to get used to the sound. Yeah.
And when time is the essence, you are constantly working on stuff. Yeah, I understand. You just don't have time.
You don't have time.
What else then? All right. Before we wrap things up, anything new that's on the radar? You know, stuff that you can maybe talk about or mention in passing. What's next for Ivan?
So I mean, this year has been quite interesting and also quite very like quite for my position, I'm like quite blessed this year because I had the opportunity to work on like say the film. I was doing ADR for Anwar the film.
Oh yeah,
that one as well.
Okay.
And then we had the Comic Con, of course, right? And so it's always been like, I think before that, like coming into this year, it was like trying to get, I thought I'll be doing a bit more of the advertising stuff coming in commercial. That hasn't been the case. It was more of like film, long form, and games. So like currently more busy on the game side of things.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a whole another different side of audio, right? And also coming back from LA and all this has kind of made me want to get into that whole long form stuff a little bit more and really trying to bring up the whole quality of where we are. Like, you know, like sometimes I feel we're kind of like stuck in this bubble. But when we go out there, we see like, oh, there's so much things to learn. There's so much that we could do and, you know, things like that. So I'm kind of going that way as well, trying to get more, hopefully work on more international work and slowly, hopefully get the name out as well. Especially for, you know, like this year, the local stuff has been generating quite a lot of good news. Right? You see a lot of films being on a lot of festivals, you know, winning stuff and things like that, which is amazing. And I think like this is a time where the opportunity is really there, up for grabs. Like, you know, just putting yourself out there and going for it.
Awesome. Yeah. So looking forward, man, to whatever that comes across the over the next hill, as we say.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fun, the story is always that when you see there's one hill you climb, then you find that
It's another hill, right?
there's another hill over the
Yeah.
horizon. Yeah.
And that's and that's the thing that I also want to share, which is that when you have something like, for example, like even winning an award, right? That's not the end. That's just your beginning
Yeah.
to go even like to step things up, right? It's not a place where you kind of like relax and I made it. Like no. This is where you kickstart your engine. Yeah.
It's an absolutely cool story, man.
Yeah.
All right. So let's look forward to more things. Let's say if people want to get in touch with you, just your social media, anything, website.
Yeah. Well, okay. So my own audio post company would be like the easiest, which is Soundmob Enterprise. So if you go on to Instagram, Facebook, Elias Soundmob SOUNDMOB Enterprise.
All right.
And you can find me there.
I'll put it down somewhere down
All
here.
right. Thank you.
Soundmob. Yeah. So just search for Soundmob and they'll find you lah.
Yep.
All right.
Should be it.
All right. So I guess thanks for doing this again, man.
Oh, thanks for
Let's
having
wrap
me.
it up. Let's go for some coffee or something like this.
Sure,
after
sounds
this,
good.
Hopefully come back when you have new projects that we can talk more about this lah.
Yeah, we could go into games next time. No.
The next thing.
Yeah.
All right. Very, very cool, man. Thanks, Ivan. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks,
All right.
JD.
All right. Bye, folks. Bye-bye.
Together.